Good evening, everyone. As the nice lady told you, my name is Janelle Riley, and it is such a pleasure to welcome today's guest. This is an actor who has been showing his range in everything from The Good Girl to Brokeback Mountain to Nightcrawler. Ever the overachiever, he is actually on screen in 2 amazing movies this year, playing 3 very riveting roles. You can do the math on that if you've seen Nocturnal Animals. Please welcome Jake Gyllenhaal. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations. You've been on just like this crazy streak lately, but this year in particular, Demolition and Nocturnal Animals are 2 wildly different and really fantastic movies.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice.
So going back to the beginning, I'm curious, what was your first job in the business? Do you remember? I mean, because I know you started when you were really young.
Acting job?
Yeah.
The first thing I did was I was in City Slickers. I was 11 and I played Billy Crystal's son in City Slickers. And I worked with Bruno Kirby and Billy Crystal and a cow.
That's
a calf, I should say, yeah, a calf.
You played Billy Crystal's son?
Yep.
Right. And what was that? I mean, do you even remember auditioning for that?
Yes. I remember putting myself on tape, and then I remember getting a call back and going to Montana where they were shooting and meeting Ron Underwood, the director, when I was 11, and being super nervous, being with my dad, but remembering Montana being really beautiful, and that's all I remember. Oh, I remember getting a little one of those bolo ties or whatever, yeah, with my dad. I had like a super ugly turquoise one with that was like, yeah, that I loved. So.
Have you run into your on-screen father, Billy Crystal, lately?
I did at an event. I do every once in a while, but I ran into him at this Hillary Clinton event, for like Broadway did a thing for.
Oh yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, and he always tends to mention that I was his son. So that's his. And he wrote me. I remember he signed a poster for me, and the poster was like, "Thank you for allowing me to be in your first movie," when I was 11, which was really
so cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was sort of a joke, but. Yeah, but I got him back. So. No, but it was really, I still have that. So
that's cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And even though I know you started at a young age, you've said it was a while before you really knew that acting was what you wanted to do as a career. Was there a turning point, like a movie or a specific role, when you realized this is what you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Well, I always say I don't really know if it is, but I think that's the joy of being an actor is the feeling, and the horror is the feeling that you don't know if you'll be allowed to continue to be able to keep doing it, you know? So the moment I think I knew was that when I watched my sister work when I was a kid. Yeah. Seeing her up on stage when I think she was in South Pacific. Somehow I just really wanted to wear a dress and coconuts on my, and so I just, I saw her and I just remember being mesmerized by, probably just because she's my older sister and she's pretty talented, and so that was really, I remember that was sort of the first time, and then when I realized I wanted to continue to do it, I don't know if I have really, I just love being in the community of, I actually really love watching actors, maybe even more than I love acting myself. Like I love being across from a great actor. And I think maybe, I don't know if I think that's sort of a separation amongst actors. You know, generally there's those who come and want to command that space, and then there's those who come to listen. And I just think I'm probably more one who comes to listen. I just love the interaction. It's harder for me to do it alone, and I think that's the joy I find in it. Mm-hmm. I've had so many opportunities in my career where I'm sitting across from an actor and just want them to shine, and I get joy out of that, which is, I mean, seems selfless, but it really isn't. I'm just usually probably not as good as they are. So,
So we're probably not going to see a one-man show from you anytime soon?
no, my one-man show is next week, and yeah.
Finally, I can't wait.
No one ever said I had to tell the truth up here. No, but, yeah.
So even though you started at a young age, I keep saying that as though you're so old now, but that is not what I mean. It's just that you have been doing this for the better part of your life. I mean, who started first, you or your sister, or was it sort of a mutual?
My sister, definitely. She's 3 years older than me, so she started first, and then, but professionally, I actually started first.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, I mean, she graduated college. I didn't graduate college, so I started at really, first role I got, a significant role, I was 16, and I was the lead in this movie, October Sky, and she was like just...
Big October Sky contingent over there.
Yeah, totally. Cole fan over there. Not, COAL. Yeah, so I started professionally before her.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys worked together since Donnie Darko?
No,
Why is that?
because I love her too much.
I mean, is it an active choice, or?
Yeah, I think it is for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're you're consumed by this job. It's all consuming in so many ways, and I think for us, our family and our relationship is more important than all of it, and so I think we just are more concerned with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a hard time with that, so we'd rather focus on that. Yeah.
I mentioned Donnie Darko, which was obviously a huge breakthrough movie for you. I can't believe it's been 15 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Actually, we have a question about that from Jennifer Ross.
What? How long ago was that?
No, she wants to know, what was your initial reaction after you read the script of Donnie Darko?
Oh wow. I felt like I'd been transported. I remember I was sitting in my car. So Richard Kelly was making that movie, and he had financing for that movie, and he had the lead cast, and then the lead dropped out, and then he was desperately searching for actors. So he met with 5 or 6 actors, and I was one of them, and I had to read the script really quickly. And I remember reading it, getting the meeting, reading it, and reading it on my way, like in the car, reading the script. Yeah.
It's worse than texting and driving.
Yeah, I know. But then I remember pulling over and finishing it. But I was out. I got to the building at the meeting, and I finished the script there. So I literally closed the last page about 10 minutes before the meeting, and I walked up, and I remember just feeling transported. I remember feeling like there were that somehow it translated the idea of adolescence to me more than any of the movies at that time. They were making so many movies at that time about what it was like to go through high school, and there were, literally so many. I auditioned for so many of them, and I read that one and I went, shit, this is what it really feels like,
Yeah.
where the world you just trip out, and you're like, this is what adults go through, or what is being an adult, what is the world? It's so unsure, and it's so unsure that you could actually run into a rabbit,
Yeah, it's funny that the movie with the 6-foot bunny is the most realistic portrayal of high school, but it is.
I don't know about realistic, but definitely relatable.
Yeah.
Most relatable. I never found like I fit any of the characteristics of any of the characters I saw in those movies, and then I read that and I went, well, that seems like me, and I just remember just feeling like there was something in that was me, and then I met with Richard, and he was like, "You want to do it?" And I was like, "What?" It was like the first moment where it was like, I guess, an offer, but I was like, I remember being like, "Are you what? Are you?" He's like, "I just need someone to be in this movie." I remember. He's like, "I just don't want to lose financing," and so I was like, "Yeah, so it's amazing." And then I finally actually read it, not in the car. And I was like, "Shit, this is weird," but no, it was a really, truly, it was a wonderful experience, and it was an incredible screenplay. It had been so popular before.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Been
yeah,
around.
I think yeah.
That actor who dropped out of it, did you ever thank him?
He strangely, as it always goes, like he still intimidates me to this day, even though I'm the one who played that role. Yes, not as an actor, yes as an actor, but just the fact that it had been his.
Really?
Yes.
That's so interesting, because I
Yes.
know your co-star in Prisoners, Hugh Grant, has talked
Hugh
about.
Jackman. It's okay. That would have been an amazing movie, but
Wow.
I made that one. Definitely.
That is a very different movie.
Yes. But equally as interesting, in my opinion.
I can't believe I just said that.
He'd be like, did you kill? Where are my children?
I mean, he's
Sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry to knock on your door, but is there is my child in there?
and it'd be
Snakes. Snakes. You know what I mean? I don't know.
He'd also.
Now I'm imagining Hugh
I
Jackman in
know.
like every Hugh Grant role.
Yes.
It would have just been so amazing.
I'm imagining Hugh Grant as Wolverine. So.
Yeah, that would have been incredible too.
But Hugh
This is the best Q&A I've ever done.
Because I'm an idiot. Hugh Jackman has talked about how he basically owes his career to being the second choice. He was originally not supposed to be Wolverine, and he was originally not supposed to be in Australia. And he talks about sort of being that person to come off the bench, and as hippie as it may sound, like sometimes it's just destiny. I don't know if it, felt that way with Donnie Darko, that you felt like that role was supposed to be yours.
I feel like you get a role and you never, I think I never really truly feel like it is mine, which is why I try to prove that to myself, and to the role. That's
Even when
how
you're
I
done
feel.
filming it and it's been
Yep.
released.
Yep. Yep. I don't think it ends. And I think that's all we have as actors is the process, I think we're mistaken when we think we have the result. I mean, you read the screenplay or you read the play, you read whatever the words are, and then you have your experience and you're moved by it. Hopefully you have the opportunity to do it. And if you do it, you'll never be able to see it. You give that up. It is definitely true if you're on the stage, but it is really true if it's on the screen, whatever screen it might be. I don't think you can ever watch it ever again. You can only then hope that your response to the screenplay or whatever the writing was is the same thing the audience will have. And that's why it's sort of trippy, is you're sort of like, what did you think? It's like this. And you can easily misunderstand a positive or negative response, which is the big lesson that I feel like I've learned, is that it's really not about the response, it's about how you feel about it, no matter what.
Is there a performance that maybe is the exception that you feel the most proudest of, or that you can step back and say, like, yeah, I was pretty good in that?
Huh. Jeez. I mean, there are aspects of everything that I've done. I'm just looking for honesty. Like I'm looking for it everywhere. I'm not always honest myself. I'm not always honest with myself, but I try to be. And I try to have that in all the interactions that I have. And so for me, I look for pieces of that. When I look at performance, or when I'm trying to figure it out, or when I'm listening to another actor, I'm always like, what's up? What's happening? Where are you? Where are we? What have you planned? Like, what's your intention? Where's the action? Like, where is that? Because I have mine, And so I don't know if it's a performance, but there are moments of every performance that I've given where I go like, yeah, you're on, like, all right. And, why? Come on. Like, and then it goes back, and, it's like surfing a little bit. I don't surf, though, so I don't know. But I would imagine surfing is a little like that.
Well, I was curious because I was actually reading about this today. It's been a little over 10 years since you did Brokeback Mountain.
Jeez, you're
I know.
breaking out the numbers.
You started so young, and now look at you. Ripe old age of 30.
7,000 years since the dawn of, 10 years, a decade, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, that was your first Academy Award nomination. It was obviously a hugely, hugely seminal movie. And I was just wondering if you had watched it recently.
No. No, you mean recently as in
The last couple
Not
years.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, there are times it is on television or I pass by it and I do watch some of it. There was a time I did a Q&A where they played a few clips from it, and I remember realizing that that now famous line of, you know, I just don't know how to quit you, is on my back. It's not even in a close-up or on my face, it's on my back. And I realized, like, that's the power of storytelling, you know, and where people go, oh, your performance, and you go, it was on my back. Like, people were like, you're the guy who said I just know how to quit. And I'm like, how do you know? It wasn't even on my face. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, so I think that's that paradox. It's that thing where, you know, you think it's all in this moment, and it's not. It's the story is the most powerful thing.
That's actually called Bacting.
Oh, really?
And, well, I don't know, I made that up, but
No,
but
no,
there's
I know.
really, but no, you
Hugh
really.
Grant does amazing acting also.
I think you mean Hugh Laurie.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, no, sorry, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. No, that's true.
Oh, you know what? And this is name
But
dropping.
man, would I like to see Hugh Grant in House. I mean, let's keep doing this.
The truth is, the last person who sat there that I was across from was Hugh Grant.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so you know
wow.
my schedule. So, I'm going to use that as an excuse, but that was
wow.
actually really a ridiculous mistake on my part. But I got a great Hugh Grant imitation out of you, so we're going to keep it.
Not great at all, but you are a very busy woman, and I know that about you, so yeah, it's understandable.
Not as busy as you. We were just talking, you have like 6 movies coming out next year.
6.
I don't think that's an exaggeration.
No, not 6 movies. A number of them, yes.
Not
all next year.
Over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk about your stage career because I believe you made your stage debut in Kenneth Lonergan's This Is Our Youth.
Yeah.
I mean, which is frankly one of the best plays ever written from one of our greatest living playwrights, who's also having a very good year.
Yeah.
Had you always wanted to do theater, or was that's really jumping in head first?
Yeah, I have always considered myself. I've always considered the stage the only place to be in a way as an actor. I did a lot of, like, you know, throughout high school and college. I was on the stage, and then I started working in film, you know, and having the opportunity. So obviously it was something that I was going to continue to do. But there came a time where that play came to me, and I knew very little about what was professionally how you work on the stage, and I just jumped in without knowing anything, which was probably the best thing to do. That was an incredible experience. You know, being on the West End at 23. You know, I remember so many experiences, so many moments in that experience that just I use every time I'm making a film, particularly those moments where you're like, I had a number of moments where I got really nervous about going on stage, and I remember our stage manager at one point, there was one moment where I was like totally panicking, I didn't want to get on stage, and I remember him walking me down in between the acts down the stairs, and he was like, okay, we're gonna take step by step, you know, and I was like, I think you should call my understudy, you know, I don't know if I can go out there. And he was like, no, step by step. Okay, and he brought me to the side of the stage, put my backpack on. My character has a backpack at the beginning of the second act. I remember it very clearly. And he's rubbing my shoulders, and he said, you're gonna do this. And I was like, I can't do it. I remember being like, I'm not gonna do it. I can't get back on there. And he's like, you're gonna do this, and I'll tell you why. And I was like, and he's like, you're a stage actor. And he threw me out.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I hadn't have gone out that night, I remember very specific, I probably would never have gotten back on stage.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
And this wasn't like opening night. This was in the middle of the run?
No, right in the middle, yeah. I mean, you know, I think we think somewhere, I think somewhere that things are supposed to be a certain way, that I plan them, I'm prepared, preparation is so much to me, you know, and then I don't trust always in that all that preparation will lead me, that I can let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think though that's that moment where you just have to have faith, you know, and as an actor, so many elements are not going to be the way you expect them to be. And when they're not, they are a blessing. Like every single time they are a blessing. They have been for me. And so that was one of the first moments. And there have been a number of times where I've been like, oh, geez, I don't know why, I'm freaking out, you know, and I do it. Like you do it. And it's magic.
Even now you get freaked out or intimidated?
All the time, yeah.
Because I know you just did a short run of Sunday in the Park with George,
Yeah.
which is like one of the most intimidating roles in theater history.
Yeah.
And, you know, were there times when you wondered, like, why did I say yes to this?
In the rehearsal press of that, I mean, that was like a very short, that's at City Center, they have those encore shows. So you rehearse for 5 days and then you perform 4 shows in front of 3,000 people. So it's like the most complicated show. And you have 5 days and it's just a crash course. And then everyone's like, and now you're on Broadway, you know, and you're singing and you're doing this show, and it's a reading essentially, but it's staged. So you're staged with a book. It's like the nightmare we all have. It's like it literally is. I mean, I remember about going out and I was like, this is the actual nightmare I've had. I am living this nightmare. It's 1,000 pages long and it's Sondheim, and I'm living it. You know, like and yeah. So yes, but actually with that show, I wasn't nervous at all.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't nervous at all. I think sometimes you are and sometimes you're not.
You've also done Little Shop of Horrors as, was it also part of the Encore series?
Yeah, that was part of the
because it was
Encore series.
limited. But most recently you were on Broadway in Constellations,
Yeah.
which is a 2-person show. I
Yeah.
joked about not wanting to do a 1-person show, but
Yeah.
that had to be intimidating.
No. I mean, you know, I was working with Ruth Wilson, who's extraordinary, and you know, it's all about connection and love. You know, particularly between two people on stage. I was working with Anne Lee Ashford when we did Sunday in the Park with George, and she's the type of actor that when you're across from her, the audience is important to her, absolutely, and the audience loves her, but she is with you, and we were together. And I think the intimidation happens when you feel alone up there, for me. When you feel like you are a part of something and you are working together to make that happen, there's usually very little fear for me. And the intimidation factor, sure, but that's why we do it. I mean, I'm like, you know, I talk about being nervous and I talk about, you know, but I love that intimidation. I mean, I love it. Like, bring it on. I mean, I love it. You know, I live for it. I live for that moment of, you know, I did this boxing movie, and every night before I went on stage for Constellations, I would just pop my shoulders before I went on stage, and Ruth and I would be looking at each other right across from each other. Before we would enter, we'd always come on same spot. We'd give each other love, and then I just pop my shoulders, you know, like I would, and I remember being like, thank God, I love this. Like, I'm going out into the ring and we're going to do this. And I love the intimidation. I love that terror.
Are you
Also.
Yay, he's scared.
Yeah.
I mean, are you looking to get back on stage anytime soon?
No, it's terrifying. No. Yes, absolutely, yes.
Is there a dream role that you'd like to play?
Yes, but you know, I would really love to do Sunday in the Park with George. I would love to play George again and for more. That's became a dream. That role is extraordinary.
So if we have any financiers here tonight, coming to the Roundabout.
Don't finance Broadway. No, I'm kidding.
So going back to your film career, early on you were doing a lot of independent movies like The Good Girl and Lovely and Amazing. And I'm curious, were those just where you were finding the most interesting roles, or were you kind of just drawn to, you know, the independent spirit, sort of?
You know, I think you're just trying to do anything you can. I mean, I don't think it was curated. and it's still not really that curated, which I should probably think about. But I remember just there are certain people who were drawn to me. I mean, with The Good Girl, for instance, like Miguel Arteta came up to me when I was at Sundance when Donnie Darko was there, and he was like, "We've been trying to find you," and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And like, "I've been calling your agents and they don't respond," and I'm like, "Okay, bye," you know. And then they were like, "Dude, that guy's amazing," and I was like, "Oh wait, come back," you know. And then I got the script, and I think I just tried to do what I could do, and but I really was more moved by darker, probably more complicated characters.
Moonlight Mile was another one I was thinking of, and around the same time, I mean, you were dabbling in bigger budget movies like The Day After Tomorrow. What was it jarring to jump into this world of like big budget and special effects, and having to react to a green screen coming from where movies are made in 15 days?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, that's not true. Yes, I mean, I remember being in a scene where Roland Emmerich was like. He's like, "Okay, like you run, and it's like the steady cam's gonna follow you." I was like, "Okay," and then he's like, "Just run really fast, look back," and I was like, "Okay, we did one take," and he's like, it's all wrong," and I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, there are 4 enormous wolves chasing after you," and I was like, "Oh, thanks," like, I just remember that so clearly, like being like, "Oh, right, okay, thank you for that." In independent film, we would be like, there'd be real wolves,
exactly.
Like I would have lost a limb. And then everyone would have been like, "Oh my God, you're so committed, you lost a limb, that's so amazing." Yeah, it was intimidating, and it was huge, and it was interesting to see too. I remember talking with Dennis Quaid when we had 2 scenes to establish a relationship in that movie, in The Day After Tomorrow.
Right, he's your dad in that.
Yeah. And I was like, "Yo, I have all these notes," and like, I was thinking that like, just the history, like maybe I would wear this thing because like it was our relationship, and he was like, whoa. He was like, "Save for another movie, buddy." And I was like, "What?" And now like recently I was doing a bigger movie, and I remember actors like being like, "Oh, and I have an idea," and I was like, whoa. It's never gonna happen here. So no, but it was intimidating.
But you can have like, sort of big budget spectacle movies with like real heart. I mean, you just did Everest last year,
Yeah.
which was like hugely emotionally gripping. Oh, I almost just spoiled something. Okay, well, if you haven't seen Everest, you've had a year, but you die in that.
A number of people do.
Yes. So, but I mean, that is a very emotionally charged movie that also happens to have amazing special effects.
Yeah.
And look fantastic. I was curious what drew you to that.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved that story. I always did. I was so moved by it when it was real, and the cast of actors who were involved.
Crazy cast.
And just the idea that you could do something with really great actors and it was that size, and we'd be outside, and Balthazar, the director, said to all of us, we were going to shoot it in a real atmosphere. We weren't going to spend that much time on stage. We were going to be up in the mountains, and an adventure like that is so fun. It's like, so often you hear of people doing all that stuff on stage, and that is what it is too, but he offered the real, or at least partially the real experience, and that was the reason why I wanted to do that film.
So you were actually on a mountain in the freezing cold, and that appealed to you.
I love that, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's what I would be doing if I weren't working too. So it's what I like, and I think those challenges are really fun, and I try and create those things. I remember we were up on the mountain, all the actors in the movie were having such a great time because we were having such an easier time of acting.
Right, because you're freezing.
Right, and then we went down to the stages, and we were all in like these huge, like puffy, down suits and dripping in sweat, having salt sprayed at our faces, and like I was doing jumping jacks and jumping rope in like I had spikes on my feet and like this huge thing, and just to get out of breath, just to make sure that I was really legitimately out of breath for the scene, and I was going like, this sucks, like this sucks so much more than being up there in the freezing cold when it's super cold, so I try not to fake it as much as I can.
Question sort of relating to that movie from Alexa N. Oh, right in the front.
Hi.
Wants to know how you approach playing real life people, as you did in that film.
It depends on the significance of the role in the story, and it depends on. Well, thanks for the question, by the way. I mean, I just played this guy Jeff Bowman, who survived the Boston Marathon bombings, and you know, that's a very specific story about Jeff and his journey, and they just made the movie Patriots Day, which is like more of the historical version of that story about what happened, and this is really one person, and to me, it was everything to me, you know, to know everything about Jeff and his family, and not really about the event as much, though the trauma from the event is evident and very important, but who he was. I mean, I spent months and months with him, and then just watching him and observing him and talking to everyone around him and reading whatever I could about the event, and that was months and months of preparation, because to me, that's a huge responsibility as an actor, you know. I've never felt that type of responsibility. I mean, I played Tony Swafford in this movie Jarhead, who's a Marine and is a real guy, and I felt responsibility to Tony, but not as much as somebody like Jeff, you know. And maybe just because I'm older, and I think those things, I'm much more aware and moved by what's happening in the world probably than I was when I was in my 20s, unfortunately. But I think I just try and I try and give my all. You know, I can go on and on about that, but
Well, you also know there's going to be a moment where the real person or their family probably sees that movie.
yes,
And I don't know if they've ever, like, I don't know if, you know, how Tony felt about Jarhead,
yeah.
or if Jeff has seen Patriots Day yet, because I don't know if you guys are done with post-production.
Well, that's not the movie. That's not the movie.
Did I just
That's
say
another
Patriots
movie.
Day?
Yes.
Sorry, that stars Hugh Grant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it?
I'm on a
He'd
roll.
be probably horrible in that movie, but I, you know, I think, yes, you feel a responsibility to the people, and I, more than ever, with that role, feel a tremendous responsibility to Jeff. But I also think sometimes I took huge narrative license, you know, and you have to learn how to interpret and not just imitate, you know. So that's very important, you know. That's the struggle. That was a struggle. Tatiana Maslany is in the movie with me, and that was our struggle. She plays Jeff's now wife, and so that was always our struggle. Was like, do we do that thing? Do we look like them? How do we do that? And in essence, it's just finding that essence and that belief and that spirit. But that takes a long time. But I feel great responsibility, if you can't tell. And when you know, in Everest, when someone you don't get to meet them, it's something else. You know, I met his children, and then you start to feel the power of what we do. You know, you start to feel the power of what you can do with the work and with your job, and then I just like let go, and I just, you know, it's just space. It's fictional. It is what it is. Let's be in the moment and exist where it is. And all the plans I had, let's throw them out. You know, I was saying to my brother-in-law, I was saying to Peter Sarsgaard, my brother-in-law, the other day, I was saying, oh, if I come to a scene with an actor who has all their path to the lily pads, you know, to the other side all mapped out, I'm like, you're fucked with me, man. Because I'm like, I know I need to get to the other side. I have no fucking idea how I'm getting there, you know? And all the planning I've had and all the routes I've mapped and all the thoughts I've had and checked the weather and the wind and all that stuff, and you know, I have my life preserver and all. It doesn't matter. When it comes down to it, it's all going to change. So you got to let it go. And all that responsibility I feel for the real people I've ever played, it's got to go too.
The Boston Marathon movie, is it that Stronger? It's called Strong?
Yes, it's
or?
called Stronger, yeah.
It's called Stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I knew.
No,
I
know.
knew.
Yeah.
And when does that come out? I was just reading about it today. I
Next
think.
year.
Oh, fantastic. I want to talk about some of the directors you've worked with because it is just like a who's who. You know, David Fincher, Sam Mendes, Ang Lee, obviously. What is it you hope for from a director when you show up to set?
Well, hopefully you make a relationship way before that so they can do their job and you can do yours and you don't get in their hair, you know. I hope just for belief in me, you know, that they feel confident and excited that they've cast me and that they know they don't have to worry about me. And that one of the big things I see is how nervous a director is, how much time and preparation he or she has put into the process and the expectations they have. And so often what you'll see in an experienced director is the allowance of mistake, knowing that if they've had that experience that they're going to be in the editing room and they only need this and this, that it's okay, they're going to, you know, or they're going to push you one way or the other to get what they need. And I think what I just love is someone who gives me room, you know, not physical room necessarily, but just figuratively speaking, just space to explore. They tell me what they need. Hopefully I'll give it to them, and then hopefully they'll give me a few more takes to fuck around and give them something better than they expected. And if not, then they got what they need and we move on.
That's funny because there's a question in here about takes. I had mentioned David Fincher, who's kind of famous for doing,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if people are exaggerating, but like they say like 80 takes sometimes. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So we have a question from, I think, Lexi. Wants to know if you had to choose between working on a project
Over here.
where you got 2 takes only or you had to do 40 takes every time, which would you choose?
Oh, whoa.
I know, right? Would you
like
rather?
A perverse question. I'd rather slide down a slide with, what's it go with razors on it?
That is dark.
No, it's all about intention. I will do 1,000 takes if I know why, right? Like if we're on a search for something together, I'll go however far you want me to go, you know? But it becomes maddening when you don't understand why. You're just doing it and doing it and doing it. So, you know, I'm not joking. I'd do 100,000. I'd go till the end of time to make sure. I swear to God that we get this thing, whatever it might be. And then sometimes I feel like all you need is 2, you know? But like, for instance, working with David Fincher, the thing that's amazing about David is that it's not just about performance, it's a full frame. You know, it's all about the frame. And more as I'm in the process of being involved in making movies myself, spending time trying to put them together, you know, sometimes the magic happens not always like right here in a close-up. Sometimes it's all most of the time, actually, it's all of it. It all adds up to the performance that you're giving, which is why I don't always understand when we talk about separating performance from movies and stuff. I mean, they're all together. It all is together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We all do it together. So, 2, 40. I always like more, so I'll say 40. I prefer.
Another great director, one of my favorites, and considering my track record tonight, I'm afraid I'm going to butcher his name, but Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Villeneuve?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was trying to put like a little French twist on it,
Yeah.
or if I just say it really fast. You did 2 movies back to back with him, Enemy and Prisoners. I'm hoping, is there a 3rd collaboration on the way?
Yeah, we're developing a movie based on this Joe Nesbo book called The Sun. So, you know, we're doing that, and hopefully we'll make that together.
We actually had a question from Mike Stern about, is Mike Stern really here?
Mike.
Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry to call you out. I loved your performance in Prisoners. Could you share a bit of the backstory as well as your preparation for this enigmatic character? Because Detective Loki, really, we don't know anything about this guy. But he's so fascinating. He has, you know, these strange tattoos and this strange manner. And sorry, I'm hijacking your question. You go ahead.
Yeah. No, Wait, what was the question?
Would you
Sorry,
rather
I
hear
was
me
just-
pontificate
You're
about?
so enigmatic yourself. I was just
Yes.
so.
Oh, could you share a bit of the backstory
Oh, the
as well as your
backstory.
preparation?
Yeah. Well, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of backstory in the screenplay, and I was concerned about that. In fact, the character had been written really like he was sort of a straight-laced cop looking for the truth, you know? And I was just not that interested in that. But I had just filmed this movie with Denis called Enemy, and it was a really abstract, really experimental film, and we had been playing around with so many things the whole time, and it was really a creative, beautiful experience. No rules. We would shoot something, we'd go out to dinner, we'd get drunk, and then we'd decide the scene was wrong, we'd come back, we'd shoot it again. You know, it was like, it was beautiful. And so Denis asked me to do that role, and I said, I don't know what I can do with this role. He said, well, we know what we can do together, so how about we brainstorm? And I just, you know, I think there were two things. One, I thought, the issue with the movie was this guy in the story. I was like, if he's the guy who always is like just trying to do good, then we already know what's happening. But if we make him a mystery, and we make it the possibility that he could be the guy who did it also, wow, that's interesting to me.
Mm.
You know, so there's another question mark in the middle of a story full of question marks, as opposed to, you know, a period. So I started thinking about that, and I just thought of all the police officers that I know, and I did a lot of, I played a police officer in another film, so I know a number of detectives, and there's this guy, Mark Schlegel, who's a cop in LA here, and he's a detective, and he's a total badass. And he's like 6'5" and has tats all over his arms and up his neck, and he always buttons up, like, because in the department they don't want to see all the tats. So I was like, I just thought about Mark, and I also thought about Mark's voice. He's huge. You see him, you think he'd be like, "Hey, bro," you know, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, man? It's Mark," you know. And so I just thought about a lot of contradictions, and I thought about my idea of someone and who they actually are, and I started stealing from Mark, and then I just thought, how about this guy has a history too of there's a line in the movie, like there's a line in the movie where he goes to see a priest, and he finds a body down in the basement of this priest, and he's really upset with this priest. And I thought, what if he's upset with this priest because he's had his own history there? So all the tattoos had connections to his history and his life, and all the things he had been through. And there are tattoos on his fingers, actually, and I switched them all up. But Denis and I know like what they mean. And you know, I came armed with all this backstory, and then you just have a great cinematographer, and then you're good. You know? And I mean, that is the truth. I mean, once I explained to Denis that he was a mystery, and once we knew, and the physicality of him, something just came. I just thought it'd be really cool for him to have something that created a question mark, and he had a tick, and I liked that. And Denis freaked out about it when I first did it for him. But it worked out.
Yeah, I'm curious because your co-star in that movie, Hugh Dancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. when you first sort of show up, like he's read the script,
Yeah.
and you know it might be expecting not what you bring all this extra stuff to it. Was he
Yeah.
sort of caught off guard?
No, I mean, both him and I think feel the same way about our work and our careers. Like, you know, I'm cool to be the guy you call up after you call up 3 other ones. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think that whole game is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a similar approach, you know, me and Hugh, and we're also both very musical. So I showed up and I looked that way, and I think he's full of love, that man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know what to say other than that's what he is. He's just you know, he's one of those rare actors who's so incredibly supportive of the other actors around him, and he had no question of what I was doing, and was just with me. And it was just massive respect, and He was so loving. I have no. He wasn't like, what the fuck is this? He walked in. He just dove in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did 2 movies also, I think, back to back that like were dramatic physical changes. I think Nightcrawler was first, and then Southpaw.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they were released, but I
Yes.
never know when things are
Yes,
shot.
that was the order, yeah.
How did you go for? How much weight did you lose for Nightcrawler?
Like 30 pounds or something like that. 30
And then you had to put on that plus an extra like 40 pounds for Southpaw?
I have no idea. There's a lot of fascination about how much poundage people gain or lose, but I just like, I did lose a lot of weight for Nightcrawler, and then I learned how to box. So, and I just went through a really intense, I didn't know how to box before I started Southpaw. So I was pretty terrified about that. So I just started, speaking of terror. And so that's terror. That's basically, it's not a diet, it's just terror. Yeah, I just learned, so I guess the weight got put on, but there wasn't anything like special to do it. I never even I actually weirdly don't look at myself and go like, oh, I look super like one way or the other when I mean, in Southpaw, I definitely feel like I look pretty ripped in that movie, but it wasn't like I don't actually know if I weighed a whole lot more than I weighed more than Nightcrawler, but a whole lot more than I did.
When you were filming Nightcrawler, did people notice the physical change? Were they like concerned, or they knew it was for a role?
Yeah, they did. They did a few times, but a lot of times I was sort of holed up in my own world and staying in my house and stuff, so I didn't really see a lot of people. But I went out once to some event, and people were really nice to me. It was actually really
Like, oh.
no, it was really actually. I mean, no joke. I was like, oh, people in Hollywood are really loving. Like I think people thought I was really sick, and I know that but I think they did, and a number of people were like, hey, like, are you okay? And I was surprised, because I think, we live in this business where there's so much snarkiness and so much competition, and there is a lot of love.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of support, and it's easy to lose track of, particularly in this city. And I don't live here, but I grew up here, and I grew up in this business, and I see that, and I constantly have to remind myself how much support there is, but anyway, so yeah, people were like, whoa, you lost a lot of weight.
I remember for Nightcrawler, you had it's one of my favorite screenplays of all time.
Yes.
Frankly, it's an amazing movie, and Dan Gilroy wrote like these Shakespearean monologues almost, and I know you had to memorize them, and like a year later you could still recite them.
Yeah.
Do you still know them?
I love how people are amazed by that. It's like, I mean, like, we're actors, man. Like, you have to memorize your lines and they stay. Like, think about people in it's British actors generally, when they are educated and they can go, like Chiwetel Ejiofor apparently can like do all of Othello, like he can do it for you, so that should be mandatory for actors. The fact that we memorize our lines and remember them and can say them a few years later should be just the tip of the iceberg of what is necessary to be an actor. And today, like, yeah, thanks. I agree. We agree. So like,
It's the October Sky person.
I mean, it's the craft. It's craft. It's the beautiful thing about what we do. It's like, it's everything. It's all you have. You can have as many jobs or no jobs, but that's what you have, always. And it's pissing me off, man, how craft is dying everywhere as a result of so many things, not just in this craft, but so many places around the world. But that is what we live for. Sorry. It's gonna get me kind of emotional, but I'm a little tired. But that is it. And so yeah, I can say those lines. Those are beautiful lines. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve to be said by other people. I often say that like Nightcrawler should be a role that other people play, because Dan Gilroy wrote such a beautiful screenplay. It should be a play. You should have the opportunity to play that role, because those words are incredible. And not just me, but any of you or anyone should be able to pick it up and do it. And I don't believe it's just mine when the words are that good, you know.
I do remember, sir, excuse me, sir. And
Yeah.
then I kind of forget the rest of it. But maybe you can fill it in.
Yeah, no, I don't remember it. But I hear it's great. I mean, I hear it's really good. Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I could do it now. Those words, man. I mean, you want me to do it? Is that what you're asking me to do?
Yeah.
I'm like so not an actor in this way, you know? Or someone's like, oh, but
Perform for
blah,
us.
blah, blah, blah. I'm not that at all. I am
Can we
not
get
that.
a light?
Like, that's why I love Annie Hathaway, because Annie Hathaway would just be like, oh, you want me to sing? Like, I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. Like, I cower. Like, I think it's like, excuse me, sir, I'm looking for a job. In fact, I made up my mind to find a career that I can learn and grow into. Who am I? I'm a hard worker. I set high goals, and I'm told that I'm persistent. No, I'm not fooling myself, sir. Haven't been raised in the something like that. No. Haven't been raised in the, yeah, thank you. I'm very supportive. Haven't been raised in the self-esteem movement so popular in schools. I'm so rusty. I was so much better at it.
Just that is amazing.
I know that. Oh, give me a second. I'll do it at the end. I remember. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important at the time to really know your lines.
You can be forgiven. It's been about 3 years.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there are those things that I think you retain that stay with you, and given a little bit of practice, like they come back, and I think that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. Like they comfort me, those words, and I can't remember them.
You remembered way more than I would have expected.
Me too. I was saying them and I was like, whoa, the unconscious is so powerful. It just like digs it up and you're like, whoa, what am I? I go into him. I'm a hard worker. I set high goals. I've been told I'm persistent. I'm not fooling myself, sir. Haven't been raised in the self-esteem movement so popular in schools. I know that. Can somebody help me? No. Google it. So it seems a popular school. I'm tired. I can't do it right now.
No, that was impressive, actually. Oh gosh, we're almost out of time, so I want to, of course, talk about. Yay!
I'm trying to remember. No, I said okay. I'm trying to remember the lines.
Oh no, I put you on the spot. We have a question about from Sahar. Wants to know, you did such an amazing job in Nocturnal Animals. It was so intense. Yeah. I'm curious if it affected you even after shooting was finished.
Oh man, I'm tired of that. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm tired of. Yeah, every role does. You know. I just feel like it's become a thing now where actors are like, man, I just was so affected by that role. Yeah, every role affects me. You know, every role is in me. It will always be in me. Every experience we have in life is always with us. So yeah, and you know, I've chose some pretty dark things to do and sometimes some pretty crazy things to mine. And it's not necessarily the role, but the experience that I've had in preparation for them that has changed me and has affected me. And I probably will never be the same as a result of some of the preparation that I've done. But in terms of something like Nocturnal Animals, yeah, like that was just rough. You know, you're in a mindset for a long time of being just put upon with no power. And I didn't like that at all. And I chose to do the movie because I didn't like that. You know, I knew what I was getting myself into. But again, that is why you have craft, and you go home and you put it aside. And I've learned to do that more and more through experience, you know. But it doesn't take as long to get it out of you. But that one was cold, you know. Like if I think about that story and I think about that character and I think about that world, I feel cold, you know. There's a coldness I felt throughout the whole thing, just alone, you know. And it's still with me.
It affected me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I know Michael Shannon said when he read the script, he was like, ew, I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I should.
Yeah.
I mean, was it similar for you?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I love this script. You know, I'm a sucker. Like when it's that good, you know, when they're like, "Oh, you're gonna go and be immersed in the darkness for months," I'm like, "Okay, it's such a good story." Maybe a little less now, you know, but I think I'll always do that when it's that good. And I just read that and I was like, this shit is so good. Like the writing was so good, you know. I mean, that was another screenplay. Like I was turning the pages and I was like, I feel probably maybe what people felt when they watched the movie and left it, but like I just was like turning pages and the pages were like this weird pink color. Like it was pink and like not like a red colored script that is like confidential, but like pink. And it was like weirdly old, like looked old. The font had been cut. I don't know, and I just felt like
so weird.
Yeah, the whole experience of reading that screenplay was so weird, but it really shook me up.
Yeah.
And I had to do it. And I talked to Tom like a few hours later, and he was like, "Hello," and I was like, "Your script's amazing." He's like, "Thank you so much." You know, like I just imagined him like just spraying perfume. And it just was like totally incongruous with what the script was. You know what I mean? I was just like, the script was just like brutal as fuck and like really moved me so much. And he was like sitting in his pristine home, probably in London or Los Angeles, just like, "Thank you." You know?
Shirt open.
Like I was like,
here.
did your fingers touch the keys while you were like, how did you do it? Like, did you just have like a million beautiful models like stamping on like keys to type? You were like, and then he walks across, and they were like, I don't know. I was like, had all these. I just didn't know. No, he did it, and he's actually a really down to earth dude. But that's what I pictured at first.
And we should specify Tom Ford because I learned today there's a lot of Toms out there.
Yes,
So
he gave her flowers today, and she thought it was someone else. And it was from Tom Ford. Tom Ford sent her flowers.
These are serious champagne problems.
They had a really nice date last night, guys. It went really well. That's why she can't remember anything.
I'm sorry, I just have to say, because we have this lovely sign language interpreter over here, when her expression when she was just imitating you now, she can't remember everything. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, she's not just saying the words, she's got the attitude.
I was imagining when I was trying to say those lines, and she was just like, "Oh, fucking get the line." She's like, "I know the fucking lines."
She was probably trying to keep up. You were doing it so fast.
She's like, "Ugh, actors." Whatever. I don't even know how to sign.
What is the sign for actors?
I can't do
Actors?
That's way too complicated.
This is actors?
Actors?
Actors. It's very performance. Yeah.
I think signing is the most beautiful
It's
language.
gorgeous. It's like choreography. So on a very different note,
We signed in constellations, actually.
That's right.
Yeah,
you
we have
did.
one scene where we signed to each other. The whole time.
And it is beautiful. It's an art form.
Yeah.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum from really serious dark roles, this is a question I love from Taylor Blackwell. Thanks. It was so fun to see you on Inside Amy Schumer.
Oh.
How did that come about, and will we see you on TV again in the future?
Well, I've been a really big fan of ferrets for a really long time, and so I ran into Amy with one of my ferrets, and she was like, and then I got the script like a couple months later. It was like, that was just.
I love your house in that episode too.
I know, what was that house? I got like a call 2 days before from Amy, and then she was like, "We do it," and I was like, "Yeah," and then I got the script, and I was like, "Why did I say yeah?" and then I showed up, and we did it in like 15 minutes, and I am so allergic to ferrets.
You're kidding.
Yeah. It was like they were all, but I was committed. So,
Because they were all over you.
Yeah,
There was
they
that
were
one
all
over your
yeah,
face.
They were all over
Yeah.
my face. Yeah, they were. They were everywhere. They were really everywhere. But they're a beautiful animal.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I would love to. I would love to do more work like that. Is that the question?
More
Oh.
TV even.
Oh, more TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure. It doesn't. Depends on what it is. As long as it's with people who I respect, if it can be that, absolutely.
You know, it actually kind of looked like your house in Southpaw. A
It
little
did
bit.
actually.
It was
Yeah,
like
it did.
all
Yeah, like really
white and-
ornate and crazy.
yeah.
And weird. Yeah. It was. Yeah, they were so. Yeah, that was a funny day. That was a wonderful day. It was really nice to be amongst in an environment where, I think when you're making a movie and you're improving. I think it's not necessarily conducive to movie making all the time. I think people get freaked out unless it's like on something like Southpaw. We did a lot of improvisation, and so it was something we were used to throughout the movie. And if you're the lead in the movie and you're improving a lot, then I think it makes sense. But to go on a show like that where there's a lot of that all the time is so freeing, particularly if that's what you enjoy. So it was so nice to be there. It was just so lax. It was like you can make things so brilliantly for so in a less, we were in this fancy place, but there were 3 cameras and they were, a few little crew, and
Yeah.
it was great fun.
Would you like to do more comedy? Because I've always said you were one of the best hosts ever on Saturday Night Live, and I would love to see you do
That
more
is
comedy.
not true at all.
Although Nightcrawler is very funny too. Actually,
Uh,
Demolition is funny too.
Really? No,
I think so. Like people's reaction to him when he's just like,
it's not, I guess it's sort of funny, yeah.
okay, I clearly need therapy.
Yeah,
but-
no. I mean, no.
And you know what's a hoot? It's Prisoners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is funny. It is though. Like if you play it backwards, it's the fucking funniest thing. Because the kids just like appear. Anyway, I'm not that funny. So yeah, I would love to. I mean, but I think there are people who are better at that. So we'll leave it to them.
So with the 6 movies you have coming out, are any of them comedies or?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing Paul Dano's directing debut?
Yep.
And I know you have this movie with Ryan Reynolds. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah. A movie called Life. Yeah.
What am I missing?
A movie called Okja.
Oh,
Bong
that's-
Joon-ho.
The guy who did Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stronger. Yeah.
Stronger, right? Which I will remember the title of now.
Yeah.
I've
No.
been-
Yeah. And yeah. So those movies.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. It's always fascinating. And everyone, Nocturnal Animals is on screens right now. Go see it again. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Thank you guys.